Alright, hello and welcome to part 3 of the SonicJS demo. So in this part we are really going to get into the administrative console and how to manage your content from the backend. Alright, so if we go to whatever the URL of your site and put a /admin, that's going to send us to the login page for the administrative console. I'm going to put in my test user ID that has permissions to the backend system. And as we first log in, we'll see that we've got the main side menu that we'll go over each option in a second. You can close that if you want to. You can click here to visit the site. You can click here to open a new window with the API, which we'll go to in much greater detail in another video. So I'll go back for now. The dashboard for right now just has dummy data. This is something that in a future release will be fully configurable, so you can configure different KPIs for your site, kind of like how it's done here. If we click on the content tab, this will show you a list of all the content on your site. So this can be things like the menu, any HTML that's been added to pages, any titles that have been added to pages. We'll go over kind of the page hierarchy on the next video after this when we get into front-end editing. But basically all the content on your site, is basically just a piece of content. You can search for any of that. So if we wanted to find like some content we have about headless CMSs, we could filter on that, and we can click on edit and then edit the content here in the back end if we want to, but we can also edit that on the front end, which we'll show as well. So the media tab is where you would upload any assets such as images or videos, and those of course can be used on your front end site. The field types is essentially your building blocks for content types. So let's say that you wanted to display a blog on your site and you would create a blog content type. You would need to use a number of different fields on that content type, to be able to enter data into it. So you can add things like text fields and numbers and so on. We also have some more advanced layout options here, and then some data options as well. And so we'll get all into these in a lot more detail in future videos. But I'll also mention that you can do quite a bit of complex stuff here. Validations, support one-to-many relationships. There's the ability to have repeating sections and whatnot, but like I said, we'll go into that in a future video. Content types are the types of content that you want to display in your site. So again, I use the blog example. So if we click on blog and edit it, we'll see that each blog has a title, URL, an image, and then the body. If we wanted to, let's say, make this body so that it's not just a standard text area, we could edit that, and you can see that we've got a bunch of different options here. Again, we'll go through all this in another video, but just to kind of explain at a high level, there's quite a bit you can do with the form builder on the front end and back end. But as an example, let's change this, instead of just being a standard text area, to use, let's say, CK editor. So we can save that, and then we can save the fields, and that saves our content type. If we wanted to add, let's say, another field, we could just drag and drop this field and then configure it, etc. So that's content types at a glance. And then modules. Oh, actually, let me mention real quick that anytime you create a module, you can associate one or more content types to that module, so that the two are connected. So anytime you have a content type that has a module prefix, that just means that there's a module that's using that specific content type. And in the system, you can see that we currently have blogs content or contact, which is a contact form that allows you to have a contact form on your website. Media, which are individual media items like image, video, menu. There's some additional ones, but the main point here is that you can add your own as needed based on your specific requirements. If we click on modules, that takes us to a list of the current modules that are in the system, and in a future video we'll definitely cover how to add your own module. One cool thing is that you initially add your module from the front end. So you literally click add module, you enter a couple pieces of information, and it basically generates kind of a boilerplate module with some example code and whatnot. So the theming work is a little bit of a work in progress, but we do have full support for menus. You can have multiple menus. So you could have like a main menu, which is, let's say, the top menu at the site. You could have a separate, let's say, footer menu if you wanted. So you would literally just click here, add a new menu, and then you'd be able to use that in various places of your site. If we edit this menu just to take a look at what it looks like, as you might expect, it's hierarchical. So we have a tree view here. We can drag and drop these items. We can add new nodes, delete them. We can determine if we want to show a specific node that's in that menu in the menu, and we can choose whether or not we want to hide the children. And if we go down to settings, settings is basically just a content type. So if you have anything like any settings that you need to address globally, one really cool thing is that it's just a content type, so you can add fields on the fly without having to write any code. Users just allows you to manage the users of the site, so who can log into the back end, etc. And then there's some additional logs and link to the documents. But really, from a back-end perspective, there's quite a bit more, especially when we get down to managing content types, that can be done. But I think I'm just going to keep it kind of high level at this point. And in the next video, we will go back over to the front end and kind of review some of the editing capabilities. So I will see you in part 4. Thanks.